Hello everybody, welcome back to Beyond the Veil Tarot and Astrology. My name is Candace Marie. Thanks for joining me on this Saturday evening. It is my weekend reading. So those of you guys who are followers and members of the channel, thanks for joining me and coming back. Those of you guys who are new, welcome. We alternate weekends, so every other Saturday we kind of switch between doing tarot and astrology readings. This week it's tarot. We've got a couple people in the queue. As always, thank you guys for your likes, your comments, your shares, your support. We are seeing all kinds of great traction and growth in the channel. Hope you guys are liking the new content. We are going to start with level 3 readers, level 3 readings first. So let me go ahead and give a shout out to my level 2 and level 3 members. People like Deanna, Paula, Catherine Murray, Harazed, Nancy, and Phoenix, Jessica Martinez, Angeli, Emma, and Susan Wexler. Thank you very much, guys. It's the very first Saturday of February 2022. So anybody who is a level 3 subscriber, if you would like to get in and get your reading, we're gonna see you guys first. I see that we've got Kurt and also Micah. Hey guys, thanks for joining me. I just saw your guys' requests. It's in the queue for the PayPal. If you'd like to get a reading, we're doing tarot readings live on the channel. $20 for 1 card, $40 for 3 card spread. Ask whatever you want. Any donations are appreciated, so we appreciate that. Tips and everything goes to funding and making us I guess giving us the time to be able to keep coming back and doing these. We've seen a lot of positive feedback on it. So it's a really great way to get a quick reading or get kind of a insight to see how I work in regards to my reading style. Somewhere over here, I'm guessing down here, you're gonna see a QR code. So if you're watching on a laptop or if you're watching on a TV screen, and if you want to be able to get into the queue to make a donation for a reading, you can scan that. It's gonna take you right to my PayPal and you can make that donation. Please just let me know if your name differs on PayPal versus on YouTube, because sometimes you guys have different names, okay? Gosh, Mercury stationing direct. I feel so tongue-tied. How have you guys done with the Mercury retrograde and the Venus retrograde? It's over. Rejoice, it's over. It's only going to get easier from here. But I'll give the level 3 people a couple minutes to show up, see if they get here. Otherwise, we're gonna go ahead and move right on down the list. Just a heads up, guys, these are tarot readings. If you want to give me your birth information, like your sun, moon, and rising, happy to hear that, or even just your sun sign. When you make the purchase, in the memo box, you can actually put your question. So just let me know what your question is. Micah says, it's been insane. Yes, girl. It has. Anybody with Capricorn cardinal placements has been like done. So it has been quite a doozy. All right, so I'm not seeing anybody popping up from level 3, so we're gonna go ahead and move down the list. We're gonna start with Micah. Hey Micah, what's going on, girl? She said, I've decided to take the jump and stop taking clients for astrology and tarot. I realized doing those things for money took the fun out of it and stressed me out. I started pursuing perfumery and I'm trying to write a first kids astrology book following other passions. However, expenses have come up these things and an old job asked me to come back and do work for them as a reader. Should I go back to the reading part-time to make extra funds or stick to my guns and wait for something else to come along? Thanks so much. Hey Tia, nice to see you. Girl, you have a Venus retrograde, Mercury retrograde happening in your 12th house, which is about whether or not you want to go back to like mystical, magical type of work, make some extra cash, because those sextiles are going to be forming to your 2nd house Pisces, right? If I remember correctly, let me know. But from what I remember, all that Pisces you had is in the 2nd house. So you can start reaping the rewards of making some extra cash, like during a retrograde or a retrograde shadow. If you're not doing something permanently and the intention is to just do it temporarily and you have clearly agreed to the terms, what your cut is going to be, in theory, it should be fine. And I know that as soon as the Sun, Venus, Mars enter into Pisces, it's all going to conjunct Jupiter and it's going to hang out in your 2nd house. So resources is on the way. I love to hear that you're doing perfumery. That's so great with that. Creating any combinations of like oils and scents and smells. It's a Taurus-based house, the second house. So anything revolving around perfumes, cosmetic, anything beautiful, and stuff that smells, tastes, or feels good is a good option. So let's see what the cards say in terms of you going back to work for them as a reader temporarily or sticking to your guns. Hey, Lindsay Fawn, thanks for joining us. I feel like with the conjunctions and the stations to Pluto, such interesting readings, just really concise, like direct stuff has been coming up, at least for my readings specifically. Here's the thing. Are you going to get paid like on a reading per reading basis? Is that the case? You've got Four of Swords, Three of Cups. So, I mean, I feel like this is a situation where if you wait too long, I'm not saying they're gonna like find somebody else and replace you, but like they are actively looking for people, okay? The other thing is I would say like the business, the shop, whatever it is that you would be working for, they have new people there. So looking at the Four of Swords as being like you were really reluctant to go back, maybe you were really fixated on the idea of like staying and sticking to your guns and not returning and either resting or giving yourself more time to prepare so you can kind of put your energy into other businesses. It can also be saying you're run down. Like, let me tell you something. Reading tarot and astrology professionally is like not for the faint of heart. Yeah, I get what you're saying where you're a little burnt out, but I also feel like what the cards are saying is that the positive side is that it'll pay, but there is going to be some competition. There are going to be other people who are new that are working there, or there is some sense of you having to work with new people. I just want to make sure that you're going to get paid accordingly. Like, I don't want you to sit somewhere and wait to give readings and hope that, you know, people are going to come in and they're going to pay you. I'm saying that because of the Page of Pentacles reversed. So I'm wondering, like, if you go back, are they going to promote you? Are they going to let people know when you're there, when you're doing readings? Are they going to promote your readings? Are they going to promote you doing classes? Something about wanting to work with other people is coming up. Like, is this a business that would be open to you being like, hey, I'm down to teach a tarot class. I'm down to, you know, have like a group meeting or like doing moon circles or other things that can also bring like money into the business, and it can also give you the opportunity to work collectively with other people. I don't see you doing it for very long if you do it. And I really feel like you have to honor that burnout thing. You know, like as a reader, it happens to everybody. You hit like a wall where you're like, I might not love this anymore. And you have to really listen to that message, because otherwise you are going to get burnt out and it's going to take the fun out of it. I do think that they really want you back. I think the Three of Cups is kind of suggesting that, you know, they would be glad to have you. You could do it part-time. You could do it a couple days a week. It wouldn't be something that you would have to do long-term. Obviously, I saw that you said that you're moving. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I would say that if you're trying to find a way to make cash, don't hesitate to try to do group stuff. Like if you're confident enough to read tarot, then perhaps maybe you could feel good enough to be like, hey, I would, you know, be down to teach a 3-week course or something like that. But specifically circles bring people together, maybe doing stuff for like a new moon or a full moon for a couple months. So that way it can bring in more residual income. I would say with the Page of Pentacles reversed, at the end, it's kind of saying like, you're going to make money, but it's not going to be a ton of money. You're going to make something, but at the end, you might kind of look at this and go, okay, was it really worth my time? Like I wouldn't give more than 3 days a week to this, just looking at this. I feel like you do need to have at least 4 days where it's going to be rest and recuperation, and also preparation for some of the other changes that are coming. And you will start reaping the benefits and the rewards just right now with all the sextiles to Jupiter. So you could bring in some extra cash. You could set the intention that you're really only going to be working there probably until about mid-March, and then you're going to be like, peace out, see you later. I have questions about the Page of Pentacles reversed. Like if it's a situation that you are coming back and they're like, oh, we're not going to give you the same rate, like fuck that. You know, don't do that. If they're going to come back and go, well, we're only going to give you like a lower percentage, or if they say, you know, we're not going to give you as much time, or you're not going to have seniority, something about that kind of rubs me the wrong way. So make sure you really get clarity in terms of asking them and crossing all the bases revolving around the money and the payout situation, because I really want to make sure it's worth your time. Teaching may be the way to go. I love teaching way more than reading. Yeah. And so that's the other thing is like, you know, depending on what you're charging, yeah, you can bring in between 50 and like $120 reading, you know, cards, but you could decide, hey, you know, how about I come in and it'll be $65 a person and I'll teach tarot for like the month, and you can, you know, it might be a better use of your time. Because I really feel like for you, you have the energy to be engaging with groups of people and sitting down and working with people. You're not really feeling like you want to do the really intense psychic with like one-on-one work. To me, this is seeming like that's going to bring a lot of burnout and also challenges and issues with your body, right? So having had this Mercury retrograde that was in your 12th, the Venus retrograde in your 12th, it was kind of teaching you that you needed more rest, you needed recuperation. There was a real need for you to focus on that, and also just getting back to feeling grounded. So I would say no more than 3 days a week. Make sure that it's going to be something that's going to make sense for you financially, that they're going to give you the same cut or the same rate, and that they're not going to be skimping in any sense. I think it's totally fine, but like 100% it's going to be something that's temporary. And look for when like Mars and Venus are moving through Pisces and making conjunctions. I believe that's happening like closer to May. So yeah, so you're going to see like financial things that are really going to be on the up and up then. See if they'll let you have circles too. Like see if they'd be willing to like let you do intention circles or something like that, which can be cool because you can do that twice a month. And that in itself can almost be probably bringing in as much as you doing a couple of readings in like a sitting, you know? I just think that you're going to enjoy this more and you're going to get more out of this, especially if it's like women's groups, women's circles, looking at the 3 of Cups and being able to kind of like celebrate and bring people together. So yeah, do it, but on to greener pastures once it's been about 3 months. Hopefully that goes well for you. I'm excited to see how that manifests after, you know, working and doing readings for a while, like after being the student and going through that process and then making the shift and then being like, okay, I'm reading. If you start teaching and you're like, oh, this is my thing, it's kind of hard to kind of get rid of that bug, you know? The problem is once you start teaching, people really want you to teach, if that's really your calling. At least that's how it's worked out for me. I'll like teach for 2 years and then take a step back because I could teach 24/7. Yes, I literally got sick twice in 1 week and injured a finger, and I was down for the count for at least 2 weeks. Yeah, girl. I mean, that's what's going on. That's what's going on. You don't want to mess around with those retrogrades in your 12th. Pay attention to your spidey senses is the advice that I would give you. Hi, Maria. How's it going? Nice to see you. Thank you for joining us. Once again, if any of the level 3 people pop in, let me know. I'm happy to read for you. I'm going to move over to Kurt. Nice to see you back. I'm curious to see your question. And we've got a couple people in the queue. Brandon, Lindsay, Nancy, Tia. I will be with you guys in that order. Appreciate your patience. Matt says, starting my master's program this week to get my master's in teaching. There's a teaching certification test that is a long story short would be best for me to pass my first semester. My question is, will I be able to pass during my first semester? I'm also starting my new job on a permit, the same company, and we've been at taking my first master's course while studying for the test, so I want to know if it'll be successful in passing. I'm not worried about the content as much as making the time to study with everything I have going on. Well, congrats making that segue, starting to do your Saturn work early, especially when it comes to teaching. I'm really excited to see that for you. So let's take a look at what's going to happen here. Will he be able to pass his test during his first semester in the midst of starting a new job and also just making the time to study? Let me tell you something. When Jupiter goes into your 12th house because it rules your 9th house, you're not going to have a problem finding the time to study. You will definitely have the time to study quite a bit. I would wonder when, do you have like a choice in when you can take that test? You are so welcome. Let me know. Dates might be important. You want to look for like a really good Mercury transit. So ideally like when Mercury is not conjunct Pluto, like right now, squaring your moon, because that's stressful. So let me know. I can rattle off some dates. Until then, let's see if it looks like he's going to pass. Okay, those two want to come together. Devil reversed, the Fool, and the Seven of Wands, victory. You definitely want to maybe wait until we get some planets out of Capricorn. And I think of like Capricorn being your 10th house, just the responsibility with work and everything. When you start getting more placements going into Aquarius and it's like making positive aspects with Saturn and maybe making some trines to your moon or even your natal Mercury, depending on your Mercury placement. Forgive me, I don't remember where your Mercury is. But the Devil reversed is like breaking free, finding the time to break free. And so if you have to pull the Devil, you know, might as well be reversed, right? It's like breaking free from the chains of restriction, breaking bad habits and bad patterns. For me, probably part of this is also just about kind of grounding you out and getting you really focused on just consistently finding the time outside of your work schedule to study. The Fool card is saying take a chance, be optimistic, you know, be courageous, be fearless, believe that you're going to pass the test, as silly as it sounds. The Fool card does talk a lot about, okay, yeah, Mercury and Aquarius. So you want to probably look for something like close to a Mercury return. And you want to look for like maybe when the moon is in Gemini. So like maybe when the moon is in Gemini making trines to your Mercury while planets are going through Aquarius. I know we can't always plan these things, but that's going to be better for just you retaining information and I think having more, less mental stress and feeling like cool, calm, and collected, you know? But being that Saturn's coming in conjunction with your Mercury, of course you're taking a test, right? So the Fool card is talking about like really just doing something different. So I think maybe that can also talk about if you have had a tendency to just cram before tests, not doing that. If you've had a tendency to study alone, maybe looking at studying with other people. I think of Uranus, like I said, ruling the Fool card. And like off to new things. I think it's going to be interesting because it seems to kind of suggest that with taking this test, there's going to be things that maybe naturally you already know. So maybe you're like taking the test and you're like, wait a second, or you're doing the practice test. You're like, wait a second, I already know this stuff. I've already gone through this stuff, or somehow this is already kind of factored into training that I've already done in the past. Very positive card, especially when it's upright in the right now. So it's like, you got to get in this state of like already feeling like you passed that test, right? I think maybe I've talked about this on the channel before, but one of my favorite things that I've read in recent years just about people who end up being like lucky or successful. It was like a whole study they did on like people who gamble professionally in Vegas and people who play games of chance, like slots, cards, whatever. And the people who would actually celebrate winning before they would even win were like so much more likely percentage-wise, just from what they found with the study, to actually be winners. So it's like you got to pump yourself up and kind of be your own hype man with the Fool card. It's like, ain't nobody's going to get me down. I'm going to pass it. Everything's going to be fine. I'm going to show my old job. Like you really got to give yourself that pep talk because the Fool says that you're actually going to find that maybe you're going to stumble into a situation that ended up being much better than you ever anticipated, right? Then we've got the Seven of Wands, which is about being victorious, coming out on top, it not necessarily being easy, not being easy to make the time, not being easy to actually complete the test, or maybe there is some kind of competitiveness where there's other people who are also taking the test to test into these positions. Maybe they're going to fill so many positions, so you feel this need to be like, I got to get in there, I got to get this, I got to do this. So I'm working my way up this ladder when it comes to this company or this position, and like I'm holding my own, right? So when you see the Seven of Wands come up, what's interesting is like the next card is the Eight of Wands, which is like full steam ahead. So when it comes to confidence, there's a fine line between being overly confident and cocky and just being like, I've got this. So one thing that I would remind you is that you want to be like that with yourself, not so much with other people, because other people could see you as being like a little bit like combative or maybe even being like a little arrogant. The Seven of Wands also talks about like I said, you coming out on top. If you see what he's doing, he's like fighting his way to the top of a hill. And even though there's forces pushing back at him, he still ends up kind of being able to defend his title or defend his stance. And the wands can be various things that are coming at you. It's like, I've got work, I've got social responsibility, I've got family stuff, I've got health stuff. There's going to be a variation of things that you're going to feel that's going to push back. But I think the benefit of having a lot of air in your chart in the next month is there's going to be support that are going to come from other people. So a way to kind of combat this sense of maybe being too overly optimistic is like look around, see if there's anybody else who's within that particular company or within your department who's also going out and taking the test, and be like, hey, do you want to study together, right? Like a very Aquarian energy when you think about it, especially because Mercury rules your 6th house and your 3rd house. So you might be able to study with coworkers. There might be coworkers who took the test and you can be like, hey, is there anything I need to know? What would you recommend? You know, is there any practice tests or anything that I could take? So you're not really kind of feeling like you're coming in and you're trying to be, what's the word? Like arrogant. I'm not saying that you are, but it could seem that way if you're not wanting to study or kind of collaborate with other people. But it seems super positive. So like I said, look for a positive transit between your natal Mercury and also either, I would say the moon in Gemini can be really great for testing, as can be any aspects to maybe Jupiter. So you have a little bit of time to kind of play with that. But definitely I would say try to get this done if you can by the time transits fully move through Aquarius. Mars and Venus are going to be there for a little while. So maybe even when Mars gets into Aquarius, that can be a good time for you as well to be victorious when it comes to achieving your goals. I'm excited to see what happens. You'll have to let me know when you pass the test. When you pass the test. Hey, Lindsay. Yeah, just you can send your question, but if you didn't, that's okay. Love reading. If you want to be specific, you can let me know, or I can do a general reading. We've got Brandon, Avon, whatever comes up, please. You got it. Ask and you shall receive. All right, Avon, let's see what's coming up for you. This one. 4 of Wands. What a positive card. To me, this feels like, and it's funny, I mean, you're going to see there's a million different ways that you can interpret, you know, different tarot cards. But you're going to see a lot of people be like, oh, joy, celebration, coming together, being with others, going to parties, going to events, going to weddings. Specifically though, thank you, appreciate it. Aries rising, Taurus moon, Gemini sun. I think about being an Aries rising and the fact that you have, you know, Saturn going through your 7th house. It's still squaring off with some placements that you have with Taurus. If I remember correctly, I think your Taurus moon is on the cusp of the 2nd house, but I think it's around the 1st, if I remember. I think this is talking about really focusing on your social life, right? Like finding like-minded people. And the 4 of Wands can be going to gatherings, going to parties, going to rallies, going to celebrations, art fairs, outdoor spaces. So if you do have all of these planets getting ready to segue through Aquarius, I'm really excited to see what happens for that full moon for you, actually, because it's going to light up your 11th and your 5th house. It's going to square the nodes, and it's a turning point when it comes to reflecting on clearing karma in your chart specifically with the nodes squared. And I think that it's going to be really kind of cool because you start to kind of realize, actually, I can integrate some of my own goals, some of my personal desires, and I can see that play out with other people. I see this card as like almost like giving yourself a pat on the back for the small miniature goals that you have achieved thus far, whatever that may be, especially when it comes to, like I said, mixing and mingling with like-minded people. That 4 of Wands can be talking about increments of 4 days, 4 weeks, 4 months. It can be talking about specifically outdoor spaces, venues, get-togethers, and celebrating and being with other people. Especially like I think of like springtime, like things that are going on in the spring. New relationships, new endeavors, new get-togethers. There's going to be something new that's coming. So if you get invited to a gathering, if you get invited to a group course, if you get invited to a party, if somebody says, hey, let's go and check out the street fair, go. Because to me, it seems like you're going to start focusing on really being able to surround yourself with people that are going to make you feel like you're not an oddball. There might start being all kinds of strange and unusual people, or eclectic, kind of nomadic, artistic, kind of out there people who start showing up in your life. And I think it's going to be really wonderful for you because in this card, you see 2 people that are like sharing and they're dancing and they're wearing wreaths, and it's all about new life, right? New life wants, new passions. But also it can be about new home life. So if you're somebody who's, if I remember correctly, I thought you were possibly in the process of like going and living somewhere new or making changes in your living situation or anticipating that. So I'm wondering if this is like a move that happens and you end up finding a group of people that you really kind of jibe with. I wonder if this is going to be you moving and living with other people and you end up really liking people who you're sharing space with, and you're having like epic house parties and you guys like all go out and you do things together, and they're very creative and eclectic and kind of artsy. Like whatever it is, like good times are on the horizon. So probably one of the better cards that you can pull, honestly, just for a general reading. But look for that, like I said, in about increments of 4. So let me know what's going on, how that plays out for you. Thank you, Eloise. Very generous of you. I appreciate it. We do have a $20 minimum for one card. So let us know. We are happy to accept donations, but for readings, we do have $20 minimum. But thank you for your donation. Let me know. I would send that back to you, but it's through Super Chat. Avon, I want to hear about all these epic parties. Lindsay, you are next. Then we've got Nancy and Tia. That's on deck. Lindsay says, okay, great. Do you just want a general reading, Linz? Love reading. Miss Thompson, you're in the queue as well. You let us know. Look for that during all the Aquarius transits. All right, so this is for Lindsay. She has questions about a love reading. I'm ready to settle down and have a family. The guy I'm currently with says he wants children yesterday, but is really busy right now. Girl, you're not waiting around for nobody. Oh, I love a good novel. She says, ready to settle down. He wanted kids yesterday, but he's busy. I understand because he just moved and starting a new job. I'm feeling as though the timing is not good. I'm just wondering if we're not compatible, if I need to be patient. I know when I got a reading from you, there's love potential. No worries, Eloise. Thank you. You're in the queue. I love coming, but I do really like him. I'm a Gem Sun and Moon Libra Rising. Well, Libra Rising, Saturn's in your 5th house. You're feeling the time crunch for having kiddos. The thing is that timing is everything with your chart right now because you're going to have Jupiter go into your 7th house of relationships and marriage. So that's your 3rd house ruler. It's going to go into that part of your chart. Once that ingress happens in the spring, especially when it crosses 0 degrees Aries with Mars, watch out because that's definitely going to be like boom, boom, boom. In fact, April, May, June can be a time where it's like the gates just suddenly open. Like I think of a Mercury retrograde in your 9th house, especially being a Gemini, where you start kind of going, when would you want to get married? And where do we do it? And how do we do it? And the 9th house is actually about matrimony, okay? So it's not actually about marriage, it's about the wedding, if that's the deal. Here's the thing. I think that you're more so fixated on whether or not you're wasting time because the 8 of Cups is kind of saying, like, to some extent, you're like, okay, should I just walk away? The Chariot and the Queen of Wands coming up is interesting because this is saying more about creating the foundation for the home base. And the Chariot talks about, you know, what direction you're going in. Sometimes when I see this, I kind of feel like telling like clients, like, yes, I know that you're kind of trying to go in a certain direction, but you need to hold your horses because you can be having one horse that's going ahead of the situation and kind of throwing the whole cart off track. This is the card of Cancer. Okay, so when this card comes up, it talks about major changes and segues happening. Possibly when you have ingresses into Cancer, like I said, May, June, that's when you're going to start to see these changes. Queen of Wands is funny with the Chariot because I feel like in the center space, especially when she's upright, she is patient. Like there is an ability for you to basically be like, look, this is what I'm doing, and I'm doing this one way or another. You can either join me and we can start planning together, or if you're not really on that bandwidth of being ready to actually plan and talk about not just when you would want kids, it's about when you want kids, not him, if that makes sense what I was just saying. So it's more about you, it's less about him, especially if you're kind of feeling like that time crunch. I will tell you that down the road, later this year, Mars is going to go retrograde in your 9th house, and Mars is your 9th house ruler. So it can be a situation for Libra risings that if they're partnered and their partner isn't ready for marriage or isn't ready for kids, a lot of Libra risings are going to split up with people. They're going to go their own way. So that is possible. But I mean, you can get ahead of that and you can have a conversation with him and be like, look, I'm not going to wait around forever. This is my timeline. Queen of Wands, when she comes up upright, she's very powerful, but you don't want to be domineering. And so I think with all of your planets that you have in air, you're super gifted when it comes to communication. However, this is the element of fire. So it's saying you want to work during the fire months to actually initiate and get some of this stuff going. So reflect on what happened in Sag season. The next fire season we're going to have is at the end of March. So once we get into Aries season and all those planets go into your 7th house, it's going to start sextiling your 5th house of romance and children. It's also going to start sextiling all of the planets you have in Gemini in your 9th. So I would say that if you have not seen headway within about 8 weeks, 8 of Cups, perhaps maybe then you would walk. Personally, I think it's too soon, right? And like I'm cautious to tell you, just knowing that you're a Libra rising with Saturn in your 5th and it's going to sextile Jupiter in your 7th, it's not a matter of whether or not you're going to meet somebody who's totally down to get married and have kids. You will. It's a matter of which one, okay? Soon as Jupiter crosses into your 7th house, you're going to see what I'm talking about, because that can be the breakdown with one relationship before another. When is his birthday? Don't worry, Maria, I've got you. I see you here. You're after Tia. If you feel inclined to tell me. 8 of Cups does tell me, though, that if you feel like you're wasting your time, you're going to be on your way. That may mean you give him 8 weeks, 8 months. I don't know how long you guys have been together. I will also tell you that the turning point for your chart is actually, there's 2 different timelines. One is going to be this full moon that's coming up. That's going to be in Leo, because it's sextiling all of your air and it's going to be making trines. And being that, you know, we have this really amazing, magical late degree Leo full moon, it's highlighting your 11th house of goals. It's opposing Saturn in your 5th house, which is you're really going to get baby fever. Oh, he's a Scorpio. Okay. So, you know, Scorpio rising, you have to understand they have Saturn right now in their 4th. So they're feeling more so the burden revolving around setting up house, figuring out where they're going to be living, making sure the house is ready. Jupiter is now in Pisces. So it's not a bad timing for him. I think you're going to see much more open up during Pisces season. So like when Venus and Mars are moving through Pisces, that's 5th house from his sun, is much more time where he could start visualizing and being like, yeah, we could have a kid. We could get married. It's going to sextile Uranus in the 7th house. So many Scorpios and also Scorpio risings will very quickly kind of fall in love this spring and seriously start talking about with the eclipses that they're actually ready to get married. But for a Scorpio rising, Jupiter in the 5th house of pregnancy, sextile Uranus is like, baby could come first, you know? And that's okay. Uranus in his 7th house or 7th house from his sun can materialize as being like, okay, you're pregnant, so we're doing this. Or maybe that you don't feel like you have to get married. It's a Uranian situation, but I would be more concerned about the living situation, to be honest with you. So the fact that you've got a guy that just moved is actually a really good sign. It's telling me that he's ready. But the question is do you guys both like the city that you're living in? Do you want to stay there? Are you considering making a change? Before you do decide to go off and have a kid or get married, you guys really benefit by talking about the direction of where you see yourselves going with your home life. And just best advice I can give you with Saturn that's trining all of your stuff in your chart right now is you need to be the Queen of Wands. Maybe put her on your cell phone lock screen, put her out somewhere like on an altar space so you can see her regularly. Work with fire, so work and do like breath work or write intentions, burn candles, stuff like that. We want to integrate more fire, which is super spicy and very much like, this is what I'm doing. Are you coming or not? Because you will walk if you don't feel like you get an answer sometime this summer from him. But the square is happening in your chart. the fixed squares that are going to start happening in his chart. It's going to push him along real quick. I just wonder if you guys are going to potentially stay in the city that you're in or the living situations that you're in, because something may need to evolve there. Circle back. Let me know what happens. That full moon is going to be really great in your chart. I wouldn't cut him off yet. Okay. All right. So let's move now. We've got, okay, we did Brandon. We got Lindsay. We've got Nancy, Tia, and Maria and Eloise. Don't worry, I got you in that order, just so you guys know that I haven't forgotten about you. All right, so let's go ahead and we'll get Nancy. What's up, Nance? What can I answer for you? Let me know. Lindsay, also in closing, you just had a Mercury retrograde in your 5th house, okay? And Mars and Venus are going into your 5th house. I would say to you, use that energy to work with Saturn and be like, hi, I'm on a timeline, or I want to have kids by a certain age. General reading, I got you. Sun in Sagittarius, Leo rising, Moon in Aries, another spicy fire mama. Let's see what's going on here. Strength, Queen of Swords, Four of Wands. It looks like you're choosing happy. How are you doing with all of this earth energy? Are you ready to get out of it? You know, Leo rising, all the retrogrades and the things going on that's in your 7th house right now. I mean, when the strength card comes up, it's addressing you as a Leo, but it's also talking about you really learning a lot about strength. And I don't think the strength is so much like physical strength training. I think it relates to your heart and how much you can or are willing to take. Learning to be, I think, stronger more so in an emotional sense, and really flexing those muscles and learning to be gentle with yourself through the process of change. Leo risings are really experiencing a lot of shifts this year. Now, strength can also be talking about when it comes to a situation, not feeling like you have to strong arm it. So whether that's how you treat yourself, how you're handling your thoughts, how you're talking to yourself, how you're looking at or viewing relationships or love in general, and asking yourself, you know, do I have to endure this? I may be strong, but do I have to endure this? This is something that you might be thinking about. Queen of Swords coming up is really talking about kind of owning and really leaning into your communication capabilities. Remember, swords are used both to direct energy, communicate, but also draw a line in the sand. So to me, it's interesting, just having read for the other person who was an air sign and they got a fire sign, they are learning to be more sassy. You are sassy, you're learning to be more direct. It's like you're actually probably learning to be more concise and not overly share or overly communicate. So instead of sending those long text messages, having that drama, the back and forth, burning things to the ground with people, this is like very short and sweet. It's like not asking for permission, not apologizing, being very direct, being really good with your boundaries, and like simplifying in a way where if you feel like you don't want to go back and forth with stuff yourself mentally or with other people, you're not going to do it anymore. And I think it's interesting with the strength in the Queen of Swords, because it can be talking about you realizing that your best strength is actually your mental or communication skills. Now, Queen of Swords can be coming up also about a woman who comes in that tells you you're trying too hard, you're doing too much, you don't need to chase somebody, you don't need to be overly explaining, like you don't owe anybody an apology for nothing. Women who are building you up, especially if it can be other fire signs or other air signs, you guys need to stick together. Followed by the Four of Wands. So I actually think that this is also about you reminding yourself that the glass is half full, giving yourself a pat on the back for the things that you are doing right, really celebrating your small accomplishments. I don't remember who it was, so I'm not going to say who because I don't remember, but I was listening to like a podcast the other day, and they were talking about how like we get so fixated on long-term goals that we don't really give ourselves a high five or congratulate ourselves for just doing the little things. especially just how challenging these energies have been for the last couple of months. Like for some people, getting out of bed, brushing your hair, and like going to the store is like a big accomplishment, right? For some of us, we might be like, that's normal, but everybody's on their own kind of gauge. When I look at this, I'm like, what are you verbally giving yourself appreciation for? Like, are you writing love letters to yourself? Are you saying to yourself your mantras? Are you reminding yourself of how amazing you are? Are you doing that work regularly? Are you journaling? Are you learning? There's something here that's about giving yourself the ability to celebrate your small accomplishments on the road to rediscovering your own truth or your own inner strength. And I want you to really think about that and reflect on that, because you may be overlooking some of the things that you've been able to kind of overcome in recent months, or you might be beating yourself up or kind of finding that you're in this repetitive kind of landlocked, way of thinking. And I would say give yourself credit for the things that you are doing right. Focus on community. I love that Four of Wands is coming up. It's been coming up so much for my client readings, so much lately. That what people are going to realize is that with all of these shifts into Aquarian energies pretty soon, which you're going to love, even though you're a Leo, because you've got a lot of Sag and because you've got a lot of Aries in your chart, it's still going to fuel your chart in a very positive way. It's going to give you the opportunity to start focusing on community and maybe finding yourself revolving around people who are building you up and who are also consciously doing that work. So I think of like groups that are getting together, women's groups, creative groups, people who just want to go out and focus on having a good time. Something about this makes me feel like this is going to be your focus for the next couple of months. And maybe looking at ways to surround yourself by strong, independent women. So maybe you're not feeding into feeling like you need that kind of Leo drama that's coming from your love life or coming from other things in your life, and you're kind of cutting some of those cords and clearing all the mental static that comes with it. Mantras all the way, and probably it would be really positive for you to start doing some journaling or something like that, so you can really get it clear out on paper what your thoughts are and what your intentions are. And maybe when you lay it out and kind of look at some of the accomplishments that you've had over the last 2 years, you might surprise yourself and go, wow, I actually did a lot more than I give myself credit for. So just food for thought. Hopefully that's helpful for you. Hello there, good evening. All right, so I'm gonna take Eloise and then I'll get Tia and Maria. Those of you guys who are just checking in, we're doing live readings. We're gonna call last call probably in like the next 10 minutes. So if you wanna get in the queue, please do. Check out the QR code. Donations are appreciated. We're just asking for a $20 donation for one card. Ask whatever question you would like in the memo, or you can get a 3-card spread for $40. Please let me know if your name differs from YouTube and PayPal. And if you do send a payment, just let me know. You're gonna do great, Nancy. All right, so let's go ahead and see what Eloise says. Thank you for your gorgeous energy. Virgo Sun, Scorpio Moon, Cancer Rising. Open for any message that comes through. I was drawn through synchronicity. Let's do it. Let's see what's going on. Cancer Rising. My, Scorpio Moon. Lots of changes going on in regards to your relationships with others with all these retrogrades in your 7th house. Questioning how you relate to people. I would imagine today and tomorrow are interesting days now that those planets are retrograde and the moon's in Aries. So it's about standing up for yourself. See what the cards say for Eloise. 2 of Swords. Pull another card for that. 3 of Cups reversed. Making decisions. Making decisions. Feeling like you're at a crossroads. Feeling kind of stuck. I wonder if this is about a friendship or maybe even like a relationship. 3 of Cups reversed can be like 3's a crowd. So sometimes that can come up that's like, can I continue with this relationship if there's another energy that's creating challenges? Can I continue with this friendship if there's somebody who's throwing a monkey wrench into things? To me, this seems like you're stressed out, to be honest with you. 2 of Swords coming up. So, is there another person in their life? Are they talking to someone else? Can I trust my best friend? That kind of stuff. I'm not wild about 3 of Cups being the card that comes up that crosses this, because it is kind of suggesting that there can be outside forces creating issues and stirring the pot, okay? So some people would be like, well, if you're having some assumptions about something, there definitely is something fishy that's up. But regardless of whether or not that's actually happening, the Two of Swords is interesting because she's holding the swords, she's thinking, she's reviewing before she makes a decision, but she's blindfolded. So one thing I would say is, I'm not saying go off on a tangent or on a rampage, assuming that people are doing things that you have not confirmed. But what is your intuition telling you? Like when you tap in and you're like, is this person a good match for me? And you're getting off vibes, you gotta listen to that. If you're questioning or wondering whether or not you should work with somebody, whether or not you should partner with somebody, whether or not somebody's being honest with you, whether or not they're a good friend to keep around, or it's somebody who has good intentions, listen to your intention. Literally sit, close your eyes, ask yourself, check in with yourself, check the energy in your heart space. Three of Cups reversed is kind of like a gossipy, kind of slandery, sometimes people who are hanging around that aren't quite what you think they are kind of card. So I would say be really mindful of who you're keeping company with right now. And that doesn't necessarily mean that there's somebody who's cheating or being disloyal. That can come up with that card, but I think it's more maybe not getting the complete story, feeling like there's something off here. Maybe the telephone game has been going off for you recently in your life and you're hearing something from somebody and you want to confront them and you don't know if you should confront them or really kind of talk about it, or just intuitively there's something that feels off. I would say sit with it a little bit longer, probably another 2 or 3 days. Just knowing what I know about your chart, now that Mercury is direct, it's going to get a little bit easier. Mercury rules your 12th house, so truths are going to be exposed. And when I think of swords, I think of cutting, I think of severing. And I think about Mars coming up into the later degrees of Capricorn, and that's going to be happening at the end of February, beginning of March. So this may have a bit of a delayed effect where maybe you're like, no, let me see, maybe I can shake this off. Maybe it's not what I think it is. Maybe I'm just overthinking this. But look at the end of February, beginning of March for where the truth can come out. And perhaps maybe then it's time to take more decisive, definitive action and make the choice to cut somebody out if they're creating conflict or strife in your life. In any capacity, coworkers, people you're in a relationship with, family drama, whatever. For more insight, look at any planets that you may have in Cancer or Libra, or even I would say Aries, because it's going to create that friction, that T-square. But yeah, Cancer Rising has been going through lots and lots and lots of changes in regards to friendships, relationships, business partnerships, and kind of feeling the breakdown where they're dealing with some people that may not necessarily be best for them. Pluto can be toxic. So you want to look for toxic. And that can be also social behavior. There people drinking too much, partying too much, right? Are there people who are keeping loose relationships and things that are kind of affecting the way that you have a relationship with them? And how that's affecting you emotionally or perhaps even psychically. There can be a little bit of like psychic debris that you're picking up from some of these situations, okay? Hopefully that's helpful for you. Thank you for your donation. Going to switch over to Tia, and then I've got Maria. So we're gonna call last call here. First time asking for guidance on your YouTube, so I hope I'm doing it right. This last year has hit me hard with loss, grief, and multiple health issues, which have taken their toll, likely to focus on other goals and things of life, but would like to know if I should be prepared for any further issues that may plague my body, thusly my mind. Just hoping my health is on the up. Thank you. Let's take a look. Sorry to hear that. You have a lot of Scorpio in your chart, right? From what I remember. I feel like, yeah, a lot of 12th house Scorpio. You're welcome, Eloise. Let's take a look. Now that those eclipses are really kind of kicking into overdrive, yes, you want to especially be mindful. Aquarius season is going to square that. It's going to bring up lots of responsibility and stuff pertaining to freedom within your career. April, May is going to bring that up in regards to relationships. So let's see if we can get some good news in regards to this, and if there is anything else that you need to be aware of that's coming down the line here. Is there anything else you should be prepared for? Any further issues? That's what I thought. Yeah, Scorpios, it's time to duck and cover because that South Node is brutal. Okay, this is positive. Obviously, this is not a fun card, right? People who see the Three of Swords, I always kind of cringe when I see that, like on TV shows and stuff, when people are pulling cards and they always pull like the Three of Swords and the Death card, and it's just like, whatever. If you're gonna pull the Three of Swords, you wanna pull the Three of Swords in the first position. So yeah, you've been going through some heartbreak, some death, some grief, some loss, some betrayal, feeling let down. That can also be talking very specifically to your physical heart and things that can be happening to your heart as a result of emotions and like overcoming and bouncing back, right? From hurt, breakup, separations, loss, whatever. So you've been in that. The card is upright. So to be honest with you, it says you're still in the midst of this. Okay, you're still in it. I would ask, what else do you need to remove? What else do you need to address? We want to pull those swords out of the heart so that way we can kind of finally get on the mend. Maybe that's doing heart-based work. Like if you're going through a lot of heartbreak, I would say rose quartz, rhodochrosite, rhodonite, nirvana quartz, anything that's going to heal and kind of clear and work through that. Realize that with all of that Scorpio energy that you have in your 12th house, people never really see how badly you're hurt because you retreat. You'll sleep, sit in the bathtub, cry, be in the dark, all these like 12th house kind of Pisces, Scorpio things. And you can also fall into patterns of staying in your house, not going out, closing the blinds, and getting really, really, really comfortable in being in that space. To which I would say you can't do that. You need to let light in. So whether that's literally opening blinds, saging your place, getting out in the sun, I know that's not what you want to hear, but these are things that you need to do. If you can't do that, anything revolving around like infrared energy can be really great for depression. But I want you to be really present with just like, this fucking hurts. And if I keep delaying actually dealing with it and acknowledging it and removing the swords, then it's just going to be this excruciating thing that's going to keep going on, because you might get a little too comfortable or you might become a little jaded because of what has happened. From here on, the reading gets a lot better. Eight of Wands is like, that energy is moving. And it's interesting because this is sexual energy, okay? Eight of Wands is a sexual card. This is a card that talks about actually having an uprising within you, something being released. So this can also be about like healing through trauma. And, you know, when you're dealing with Scorpio energies, it's always life and death, death and rebirth, pain and sorrow, but that pain that actually makes space for like new things that come in. So sounds kind of like weird, morbid advice, but I would be like, really sit with it and ask it what it wants. Be like, what do you want? Why are you here? Why are you here so consistently? Like you can come in, I acknowledge that this is emotion, but you can't stay here. So what do you want me to do with this? Because to be honest with you, the sooner that you move through this process of mourning, healing, and learning to trust others and yourself again, your energy is going to shift. But you need to move it around, right? Eight of Wands is moving it around. And whether that's like healing from not feeling like you can trust people and doing some kind of sexual healing, energy healing, healing from your root chakras, the base, you know, like Kundalini energy, like with all these eclipses and stuff that's happening for Scorpios, if you're not doing it, the South Node in Scorpio is going to rock you, like to your core. Like you're going to lose money, you're going to lose resources, you're going to lose sexual or really, really, really tight bonds with people. That's going to throw you off and make you kind of act like a live wire. So rather than waiting for those things to happen, I would say the Eight of Wands is like, yes, things end, things shift, but we got to keep moving, because you're going to become too fixated on the past that when things start showing up, it's going to be like a slingshot and you're going to get energy zapped and kind of jolted, and it might be even harder to kind of restart your calibrator. So I would say get moving, focus on moving your body. Grief can literally sit in your bones. If you've got a lot of Scorpio or a lot of Capricorn, it'll sit also in your groin or in your pelvic area or your reproductive organs. So maybe it's a matter of just working out and kind of getting that out of your system, working with somebody who can massage it out of your system, something that involves heat or points. So I would say for Scorpio, it can be like acupuncture. Because you have a lot of 12th house, it could also be about doing some kind of trauma therapy that would be from like hypnotism or some kind of regression that you can do where they put you under slightly. And you can start kind of going back and you can start addressing trauma, because knowing that the South Node's going through your 12th house there, it tells me that there may be some kind of sexual trauma or issues revolving around abandonment or just death in general that has led to you learning to close down your energy and not be open, right? Followed by the Queen of Cups. So that's you. I love that all these queens are coming out. It's really cool because it's talking about people really owning those energies and like really working with those archetypes. Once again, Queen of Cups might be something that you want to put out, right? Put it out in an altar space, put it on a desktop computer, put it on your phone. Especially if you are a Scorpio, that's your queen. She is open, emotional, receptive, intuitive, psychic. See, part of what's going on also with this is that you may start having psychic upgrades and you're receiving messages and you're working through trauma from past lives because it's in your 12th house. So it can represent a woman coming in who can help you through the process of that. But I really think it's more you, because you come out on top and you're like, I'm not going to let these situations close myself off to love or close myself off to healing or relationships or receptivity. There's a fine line between being like intuitive, psychic, or like kind of crazy. Many of us kind of dance that line. So I think part of this is also like when you clear some of this grief, it's going to give you the opportunity to be much more in tune to what's coming. And when you're sitting in all of this pain and all of this grief, it's really hard for you to feel tapped in. So I would imagine right now you kind of feel a little blind, or it's hard for you to kind of really feel like you can make solid decisions going forward because there's this feeling that something's coming. What if I told you that the feeling that change is coming is not necessarily bad? The feeling that the change that's going to be building up are new things, but you're not really ready to receive that vibration yet. So try to break down the barriers of that, feeling like fear, like you're just going to keep getting hit all across the board. I would say hold space for being like, actually what I'm feeling is anxiety because I don't know what's coming. I just know that it's different and I know things are going to change. That's literally what's going to happen. The North Node's moving through your 6th house. So it's going to be about tackling and finally handling healthier habits, getting on a regular schedule with how you're eating, how you're sleeping, how you're feeling in your body. It's going to take you about April, May to kind of move through that. With the retrogrades and the eclipses, 8 weeks to 8 months is kind of the working time. I would say this is more like 8 weeks to being back on track. Really look at the aspects that you're receiving from Jupiter and Neptune and Pisces, because that's also about healing. And knowing that you've got Scorpio in your 8th, then this is all actually hanging out for you right now. Let's see, where is Pisces? That's like what, your 5th house, I think? Feeling stagnant and a little anxious about change, but change is inevitable. So I think the anxiousness of like, oh my God, things are going to change. What am I going to do? You can either hold on to that and be super fearful and have the death grip, which you know is not going to go very well because it's going to make the process of ripping off the Band-Aid a lot harder. I would say replace fear with excitement. As silly as that sounds right now, you want to replace fear with excitement. And even if you don't know where you're going, just be like, I don't know where I'm going, but I know I'm going somewhere better because everything's got to be better than this. So it's got to be better than this. Raising that vibration and reminding you that you're going to a different direction. Sometimes traveling helps with this card. Sometimes literally going somewhere else is actually going to open this up and make it possible for you to move more freely energetically. But in the end, with the Queen of Cups, it says that you're going to be much more open, sensitive, healed, renewed, receptive, loving. You will be fine. It's just a matter of really embracing and sitting with the pain and asking it what it wants so you can move through it, so you're not feeling like you're dragging all of that weight around with you. Okay? Hopefully that's helpful. Sending you lots of love. Hey, Angeli, how's it going? Hey, Paula. No worries, guys. You got in right on time. So if either one of you guys want to get your monthly reading, please let me know. Paula, I saw your reading that came in, your question that came in also. I did get that. I'll be working on that for you this weekend. So we have Maria, and yep, just let me know your question, Angeli. How you doing, Paula? How's it going? I know it's been a challenging last couple of weeks. How's your dude doing? Is he better? All right, Angela, you asked me that question. I'm going to go to Maria, and then I will get you next. You're welcome, Paula. Maria says, advice for the next 2 weeks. Thank you. All right, Maria, this is for you. And then I've got Angela. Advice for the next 2 weeks. If you've been a little anxious about a financial situation, if you've been waiting on something to come through, concerned about whether or not something's going to be paid or you're going to receive something, something really positive is coming for you. Knight of Pentacles can be an indication that you're going to receive a message that involves finances, investments, a job, resources, health, wealth, right? Knight of Pentacles is super reliable. This is somebody who is making sure that they're sure of what they're doing. They have the resources. They're positive that they're ready to give you the job, give you the assistance. It's saying good health, wealth, abundance, and some good news involving resources is on the way. Maybe right now you feel a little stuck, hangman, a little perplexed. It's like, well, you know, do I go for the job? Do I ask for the loan? Do I borrow the money? Like kind of feeling like I'm stuck right now. I don't know if that's how you're feeling, or you're waiting to hear back, or you're kind of just suspended in a situation and you're not entirely sure how to handle it. The Hangman is interesting. This is a card that deals with Pisces, Neptune. It's about waiting in suspension to see if there is something that is going to come to you, like an epiphany or an awareness. It can be about an awakening. In this card, he's got 1 foot in and 1 foot out. So there's something like this basically coming up for you that is about enlightenment, getting awareness about something, getting some insight, maybe a vision, a dream. It can also be a reading. And then the final card that you have is the 10 of Cups. So family, being able to be joyous, celebrating, you know, being in a situation where everything is coming full circle, happily ever after, the situation getting worked out, having something coming to you that you've been hoping for, you know, everything kind of working out positively, emotionally, celebrating, support, some kind of positive shift that's going to be happening. So if you're stressed about something that's going on financially, I would say don't worry. I would say turn your attention to meditation or prayer, or anything revolving around, okay, I know this is going to get sorted out. I just need some assistance. I'm just tuning in. I'm checking in. Everything's going to be fine. It can also be about long-term financial planning to some extent. So maybe there's something like that going on for you. That's the other feeling that I'm getting, where you're like, well, what do I do with my money? Where do I put it? The Hangman is basically saying that the message or the insight or the decision may come to you either, like I said, through a reading or intuitively or through a vision. Maybe you're saying to yourself, it's time for me to start planning for my future. Is my family going to be okay? Is our home life going to be okay? Is everything going to work out? Dating, there was a guy, but he didn't want to stay in touch because of distances. His name was Nimrod. Honestly, I feel like if that's the case, I would pay attention, because Knight of Pentacles can be talking about somebody who was taking too long or wasn't willing to make the move, or wasn't moving fast enough, or wasn't willing to come to you. But this is somebody new then that can come in. Look for somebody who's got some like Earth or Pisces placements. Knight of Pentacles can be like somebody who's tall, dark, and handsome. A little slow, darker hair, sometimes darker complexion. Perhaps maybe he comes in when the sun or other planets are moving through Pisces. And this can also be talking about visualizing who you want to connect to. If this is a guy who you were seeing, but he's like, oh, it's too far away, cut him off. Because Hangman is saying, just hang tight, don't interact, wait, and allow people to come to you. Because in the end, you're going to get what you want. You know, 10 of Cups can be happily ever after, getting married, having a family, living together, like seeing everything coming full circle. And if you feel like that person's been taking too long actually making a decision or making a move or coming to see you, and you've been the one who's just hanging out waiting, you're not going to wait for him anymore. Really actually cut him off. Like, don't be engaging with him, because maybe the Knight of Pentacles needs to learn that he needs to actually come to you, and it's not going to be a one-sided kind of relationship. Nevertheless, 10 of Coins says it's going to be a positive outcome. All right, so let's take a look. So we've got, other than that, Angeli wants to know, will I pass my exams on time, get a raise, receive some love? Thank you. Let's take a look. Maria, let me know if another tall, dark, and handsome man shows up. This is for Angeli. She's got questions about passing her exams and positive things coming her way, like maybe some love or a raise. King of Wands, 8 of Coins, 7 of Swords. Girl, I'm more concerned about wasting time with somebody when you really benefit from either studying or really focusing on the job at hand. King of Wands reversed and the 8 of Coins reversed and the 7 of Swords is like, be very careful with anything that's going to distract you or take you away from your focus on your career right now. Money and career are the two most important things right now, okay? King of Wands can be like a fire sign who comes in. He's fun, he's flirty, but maybe it's like keeping you distracted while you're working or while you're trying to make time to focus on studying. This can be somebody who also doesn't stay around too much. So I kind of get the feeling that there could be a situation where, you know, he already is working and he's got things going in his favor and he's not taking responsibility for understanding that, you know, you're still on the path of kind of getting everything moving and shaking when it comes to your career. He can be selfish as well. So somebody who can throw fits and get kind of demanding, like, oh, you're working all the time. When are you going to make time for me? Can't I come over? Like, no, don't let anybody railroad you. 7 of Swords reversed is also like catching things before they go missing. So it's saying like, you know, it might be somebody who's not exactly who they make themselves out to be. It might be a situation where you catch yourself before you're making mistakes and you're overlooking things at work or you're overlooking things when it comes to studying. Buckle down. It's not going to take very long. 8 of Coins, when it's reversed, it's saying if you really focus on the goal at hand, more money and more resources are going to come. I'm never really a fan when I see King of Wands and any king reversed with the 7 of Swords, but especially the King of Wands, because that's like a hit it and quit it thing. That's somebody who's, once they get what they want, they may not really hang around and you may have some regret for not really focusing on career stuff. Could this be someone to distract me these few months? Yes, definitely. But it's only really for like the immediate next couple months. I'm not saying you can't date and do both, but like work and focusing on your career and studying, that has to come first. Otherwise, you're going to look back and go, oh my God, you know, I could have done better on that exam, or I didn't give enough time to this project, or I didn't get the grades because I wasn't super focused. Like, do not let anybody get in the way. Be very forthcoming and very open and honest with the fact that you're really adamant about some of your career goals right now. That's the best advice I can give you. And with the 4 of Coins, it's saying like, be stingy. Don't be offering to pay for things. Don't be offering to give people your time, your money, your energy, none of that stuff. It's like, no, you got to do what you got to do. If people say to you, I want to get together, you tell them when you're available. Don't be quick to feel like you need to converse and be going back and forth with people. Like, really focus on creating time where it's peaceful. So if you're studying, your phone's off, your computer's off, you're not texting while you're in the middle of like reading and doing things, because this person will pull you away from it and then he will not end up staying around. Or he'll be like, I'm not getting immediate satisfaction. You're not immediately calling me or texting me back. You're not chasing me. You're not making time to go out with me. You can't go out on a Wednesday night. Like, that person will just, they'll be kind of like fair weather, you know? Be really careful with that. 8 of Coins does insinuate, though, that you're going to be working really hard on being able to get this raise. And to me, I don't know if the exams factor into that in some way, but I think that if you really focus on how you're performing when it comes to work in general, and putting a lot of time and dedication, you're going to see that that's going to positively come back and you're going to actually have something, you know, like super valuable that's going to come from this time. Good. Brilliant. Yeah. To me, it's about managing the time that you're just interacting and socializing, calling, texting people, you know, just time management. That's all. But don't throw away solid work goals because of stuff that's actually just trying to distract you right now, who may not hang around. Hopefully that's helpful for you. You have to let me know what goes on there. Let me just check before we wrap up to make sure that I got everybody. Yes, thank you to all of our members, people who support the channel, who have been doing that. You guys make it possible for me to create all my new content. Working on some new stuff for you guys this week. Tomorrow I'm going to film my weekly astro weather video. I'm going to try to do the follow-up to the Pluto return, because if you guys haven't seen that, a lot of the things that I spoke about are happening right now. And because the Pluto return is coming up this month, I feel like to do a part 2, because there's more insight that I've gotten the more that I look at the charts. And yeah, if you guys have any new content or any ideas, anything that you're interested in, I'm doing educational videos as well. Those of you guys who would like to join my memberships, please do consider that. It makes it possible for me to keep making content. My goal is by the end of summer to be able to make you guys videos every day, so I can be here more and start doing my group courses and things like that, hopefully in the next month or so. Once these retrogrades calm down, I'm trying to aim for like maybe March-ish. And if you'd like to book a reading with me, check out my links below. Check out my website at beyondtheveiledtarot.com. I've got some openings within like the next 4 to 6 weeks, I think. And we'll be back next week. We're going to do Astro next Saturday, live astrology readings. So if you guys want to catch that, please do. Otherwise, thank you guys to everybody who is watching, for your donations and for your comments. I will see all of you guys very soon, and please enjoy the rest of your weekend. Take care.